began with a whisper, not a sound, but a sensation, a subtle vibration that resonated deep within my bones. At first, I dismissed it as fatigue or perhaps the onset of an illness. But as days turned into nights, the feeling intensified, accompanied by vivid dreams of unfamiliar constellations and structures that defied the laws of physics. I wasn't alone in this. Reports surfaced globally, people experiencing similar sensations, dreams, and an unshakable feeling of being watched. Scientists were baffled, attributing it to mass hysteria or an unknown virus. But I knew better. Something was coming. The sky tore open on a Tuesday. I was at my desk, sifting through data from the observatory, when the atmosphere vibrated with an otherworldly hum. Stepping outside, I witnessed the clouds parting, revealing colossal vessels descending silently. They were unlike anything I'd ever seen, geometric behemoths that shimmered with a metallic hue, casting elongated shadows over the city. Panic ensued. Communications failed, and the power grid collapsed. The world plunged into chaos as these leviathans settled above major cities, their presence both awe-inspiring and terrifying. Days passed without any sign of life from the ships. No communication, no movement, just an oppressive silence that weighed heavily on humanity. Governments attempted to establish contact, sending signals and even approaching the vessels, but there was no response. Then people began to disappear. It started subtly, individuals vanishing from their homes, workplaces, and streets. Surveillance footage showed them being enveloped in beams of light, their bodies disintegrating into particles before vanishing entirely. The phenomenon was global, indiscriminate, and inexplicable. I was taken on the seventh night. A beam of light pierced through my apartment, immobilizing me. I felt my body disassemble, each atom pulled apart and reassembled aboard the ship. The interior was vast and sterile, illuminated by a soft, pulsating glow. Entities surrounded me, tall, slender beings with elongated limbs and featureless faces. They communicated not through words but through emotions, projecting feelings of curiosity, indifference, and a hint of malice. They probed my mind, extracting memories, emotions, and knowledge. It was invasive, violating every aspect of my being. I felt exposed, dissected, and powerless. During the interrogation, I glimpsed their purpose. They were collectors, traversing galaxies to harvest knowledge, experiences, and biological specimens. Humanity was merely another entry in their cosmic ledger, a species to be catalogued and archived. I saw visions of other civilizations, now extinct, their cultures preserved in digital prisons aboard these ships. The aliens weren't conquerors, they were archivists, preserving life by destroying it. Upon my return, I found a world transformed. Cities were deserted, nature reclaiming the land. Survivors were scarce, scattered, and traumatized. We banded together, sharing our experiences and piecing together the truth. Using remnants of alien technology, we devised a plan. If they sought knowledge, we'd give them misinformation, corrupted data, false memories, and fabricated histories. We became the architects of our deception, rewriting our narrative to poison their archives. Our plan worked, to an extent. The aliens, upon realizing the corruption, reacted violently. Their ships emitted pulses that eradicated entire regions, attempting to cleanse the contamination. But we persisted, spreading our falsehoods faster than they could destroy. In their pursuit of purity, they began to falter, their systems overwhelmed by the paradoxes we introduced. The archivists became the archived, trapped in a loop of corrupted data and conflicting narratives. Years have passed since the last ship fell. The world is scarred, but life endures. We've rebuilt, not as the society we once were, but as something new, resilient, united, and wary. The echoes of Orion still linger, a reminder of the day the stars looked down upon us, not with wonder, but with hunger. And as we gaze into the night sky, we remember that knowledge, in the wrong hands, can be the most dangerous weapon of all. I've never shared this before. Not with my wife, not with my therapist, not even in the anonymous corners of Reddit. But after what happened last week, I can't keep it inside anymore. I need to write it down, maybe to make sense of it, maybe to warn others. I don't know. All I know is that something is out there, and it's been watching me for years. It started when I was 12. My family had just moved to a rural town in upstate New York. Our house was old, creaky, and sat on the edge of a dense forest. The kind of place where the trees seem to whisper secrets, and the wind carries voices that aren't there. One night, I woke up to a humming sound. Not loud, but persistent, like a refrigerator running in the distance. I got out of bed and looked out the window. The backyard was bathed in a pale blue light. At first, I thought it was the moon, but then I realized the light was coming from the woods. Curiosity got the better of me. I slipped on my sneakers and crept outside. The air was electric, charged with something I couldn't explain. As I approached the tree line, the humming grew louder, more intense. Then I saw it, a sphere, hovering about 10 feet off the ground, pulsating with that eerie blue light. I should have run. I should have screamed. But I was frozen, entranced. The sphere emitted a beam of light that enveloped me. I felt weightless, detached from my body. Then darkness. I woke up in my bed the next morning, drenched in sweat. My parents said they found me sleepwalking in the backyard. I tried to tell them about the sphere, but they dismissed it as a dream. But it wasn't a dream. Over the years, the visits continued. Always the same, waking up to that humming, the blue light, the paralysis. Sometimes I'd have vague memories of being in a sterile room, surrounded by figures with elongated limbs and featureless faces. They never spoke, but I could feel their thoughts probing mine. I started keeping a journal, documenting each encounter. The entries became more detailed, more disturbing. I described instruments, procedures, sensations of pain and euphoria. I wrote about other people I saw, some conscious, others catatonic. All of us, subjects in some incomprehensible experiment. Then the gaps in time began. Hours, sometimes days, unaccounted for. I'd find myself in places I didn't remember going to, with items I didn't recall acquiring. My relationships suffered. Friends drifted away, unable to understand my erratic behavior. My girlfriend left me, citing my obsession with aliens as the final straw. I sought help. Therapists, neurologists, even a hypnotherapist who specialized in repressed memories. Some believed me, most didn't. The hypnotherapist sessions were the most revealing and the most terrifying. Under hypnosis, I recounted being in a vast underground facility filled with chambers containing other humans in suspended animation. The beings communicated telepathically, conveying a sense of urgency, of a mission nearing completion. Then last week, everything changed. I was driving home late at night when I saw a figure standing in the middle of the road. I slammed on the brakes, but it was too late. I hit it. Heart pounding, I got out of the car, expecting to see a deer or some other animal. It was one of them. Lying on the asphalt, its body was humanoid but elongated, with grayish skin and large, black eyes. It was injured but alive. It looked at me, and I felt a surge of emotions, fear, pain, desperation. Without thinking, I picked it up and placed it in the back seat. I drove home, unsure of what to do. Once there, I carried it into the basement and tended to its wounds as best I could. It never spoke, but our minds connected. I saw images of a dying planet, of a mission to preserve their species, of the experiments conducted on humans to find compatibility. I realized I was part of something much larger, a bridge between two worlds. The visits, the procedures, they were preparing me for this moment. Then, as suddenly as it had appeared, the being vanished. No trace, no sign it had ever been there. Now, I'm left with more questions than answers. Was I chosen? Am I a hybrid? What is my purpose? All I know is that the humming has returned, louder than ever. And I feel a change within me, something awakening. They're coming. And this time I'm ready. I never believed in alien abductions. I used to laugh at the stories, people claiming they were taken aboard spaceships, experimented on, and returned with missing time. It all sounded like science fiction to me. That was until the night I experienced it myself. It was a typical Friday evening. I had just finished a late shift at the diner and was driving home along the deserted country road that cuts through the woods. The night was clear, the stars bright, and the only sound was the hum of my car's engine. Suddenly, a bright light appeared in the sky ahead. At first, I thought it was a helicopter, but it moved too erratically, zigzagging across the sky with impossible speed. Then it stopped directly above my car. The engine sputtered and died, and the car coasted to a stop. Panic set in as I tried to restart the engine, but it was dead. The light intensified, bathing the car in a blinding white glow. I felt a vibration, a low hum that resonated through my entire body. Then, everything went black. I awoke in my bed the next morning, drenched in sweat and with a pounding headache. I looked at the clock. It was 10 a.m. I had no memory of how I got home. My car was parked in the driveway, keys on the kitchen table. I felt disoriented, as if I had been drugged. Over the next few days, strange things began to happen. I experienced sudden nosebleeds, vivid nightmares of being restrained on a table surrounded by shadowy figures, and a persistent buzzing sound in my ears. I also discovered a small, hard lump behind my right ear. Doctors couldn't explain it. I started researching alien abductions and came across stories eerily similar to mine. People describing missing time, unexplained physical symptoms, and strange implants. I realized I wasn't alone. One night, I decided to undergo hypnosis to recover my lost memories. Under trance, I recalled being taken aboard a spacecraft, subjected to experiments, and implanted with a device behind my ear. The beings were tall, with large black eyes and gray skin. They communicated telepathically, conveying a sense of cold detachment. Since then, I've experienced episodes of missing time, waking up in unfamiliar places with no recollection of how I got there. The buzzing in my ears has become more frequent, and the lump behind my ear occasionally emits a faint glow. I don't know what they want or why they chose me, but I live in constant fear, knowing they can come for me at any time. The missing time is the worst part, not knowing what they've done or what they plan to do next. I used to laugh at alien abduction stories. Now I live one. I live in a small town in Utah, surrounded by desert and silence. The kind of place where people still lock their doors at night, but not because of crime, because of what's out there. Most people don't talk about it openly. They pretend it's coyotes or the wind. But I've seen the lights. The first time I was 15. It was late. I was on the roof, stargazing. Then, out of nowhere, every sound dropped out. No crickets. No wind. Even the power lines stopped humming. That's when I noticed the triangle. A massive, perfectly shaped black triangle hovering above the trees. It didn't glow, didn't hum. Just was. Like the sky had been erased in that spot. My chest got tight. My nose started bleeding. Then it blinked out of existence. I told myself it was a dream, but my watch was off by 6 hours the next morning. Over the years, I've had episodes. Missing time, sleepwalking into the desert, waking up with burns on my shoulders and circular bruises around my ankles and wrists. I saw a therapist once. She said I had dissociative fugue states. That didn't explain the static in my teeth, or the clicking sounds that follow me when I'm alone. 2 weeks ago, I installed trail cams around my property, high-end ones with night vision and motion sensors. Every night around 3:12 a.m., the footage cuts out for exactly 37 seconds. Just static, then returns to normal. I check timestamps. During those gaps, I'm no longer in bed. I live alone. 3 nights ago, I woke up standing in the kitchen, holding my dead dog in my arms. He'd been buried for 4 months. His eyes were open, and his fur was still wet. There were marks on the floor, 3-pronged, almost like bird feet, but too long. They glowed faintly under UV light. I found one on my neck the next morning. I started hearing a tone. High-pitched. Only when I'm near electronics. I smashed my TV. My phone. Even my microwave. The tone followed. Last night, I decided to end it. I set up every camera I had. I even put one inside my bedroom, pointed straight at my bed. I took sleeping pills, hoping to catch whatever was happening on tape. I woke up in the middle of the desert, naked. No tracks leading to or from me. Just a perfectly burned circle around where I lay, 10 meters wide. I had a puncture mark in my stomach. No blood, just a clean, healed hole. Like surgery. I felt emptier somehow. Lighter. But wrong. I ran home. My cameras were gone. The only thing left was a sticky note on my fridge. It said, "Thank you for your participation." And at the bottom, a symbol, a black spiral made of eyes. I vomited when I saw it. Tonight, I looked in the mirror and saw something behind my reflection. Tall. Thin. Its head too long. Its limbs wrong. It didn't move, even when I turned around. But in the mirror, it raised its hand and placed it on my shoulder. And now I hear a voice in my head. Not words. Just thoughts like thunder and static and color. And I know it's not over. I know I'm just the beginning. They're coming through me. And the worst part, I'm starting to understand their language. And it's beautiful. I used to work nights as a security guard at a radio telescope facility deep in the Nevada desert. It wasn't glamorous. Mostly I drank coffee and listened to static hum through the walls. The dishes ran 24/7, scanning deep space. Looking for what? I wasn't sure. They never told us. Then the signal came. It was 2:43 a.m., Tuesday. All the alarms went off at once. Not emergency alarms, data pings. Every monitor in the control room lit up with the same waveform. Perfect symmetry, repeating in intervals too precise for randomness. We'd never seen anything like it. The scientists lost it. I watched them scramble, calling numbers I wasn't cleared to hear. One of them, Dr. Schaefer, just kept repeating, "This isn't a transmission. It's a reply." That night, when I got home, things started to change. My phone kept resetting. My eyes burned under artificial light. The neighborhood felt wrong, like it had been copied slightly off. Trees stood too still. Shadows didn't align. And I kept hearing a hum in my left ear, like an old TV set left on mute. I began to lose time. Sometimes I'd blink and find myself standing in the shower, fully clothed. Other times I'd wake up with soil under my fingernails and my shoes muddy, even though I hadn't left the house. One morning, I found a shape under my skin. A tiny, hard bump behind my right ear. I tried to press it, and it moved. On its own. Like it was alive. I went to a clinic. The x-ray showed nothing. But the tech refused to hand me the original films. He just said, "You should leave." That night, the signal returned. Not through the dishes. Through my television. It wasn't plugged in. The screen flickered and displayed a spiral of numbers and symbols, none of which matched any known language. Yet, I understood them. They weren't words, they were instructions. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw rows of lights above me, stretching into the void. I was strapped down, surrounded by figures that moved without sound, without air. Their skin shimmered like oil on water. Their faces were smooth, featureless. Yet I knew they were looking at me. They never touched me. Not physically, but I felt them inside my head, pulling memories, rewriting, removing, replacing. When I woke up, I had symbols carved into the wall above my bed, deep, burned into the plaster. I live alone. No one else could have done it. That same day, Dr. Schaefer was found dead in his office. His brain had liquefied, but there was no trauma. No sign of forced entry. On his computer was a single phrase typed over and over. "We are already here." I tried to quit. Tried to leave town. But every road out led me right back. GPS spun endlessly. I'd drive for hours and end up outside my house. Once, I saw myself in the rearview mirror, but my mouth was moving, and I wasn't speaking. Now I get nosebleeds every day at the same hour, 2:43 a.m., the exact time the first signal came. Every mirror in my house reflects a slightly different version of my face. They watch me blink before I do. Sometimes, when the lights flicker, I hear whispers in reverse. Names I've never said. Places I've never been. Stars that don't exist. And last night, something knocked on my window. I live on the third floor. I didn't look, but I heard it breathe. Slow, deep, curious. It left behind 3 perfect fingerprints. Long, thin, not human. I wiped them away, but now I see them inside the glass, waiting,